Once upon a time, in a room full of wonders, where every step leads to magic, and the journey of a true story begins here, with amazing guests and true miracles. Please like and subscribe for more amazing videos.
Hello and welcome to our very special guest today, Trisha Parker. Thank you so much for being here today with us. We appreciate you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you. So near-death experiences are profound ways to wake up. I often joke that many of us had the hard way of waking up. Some people wake up easily through meditation or a conference, but I woke up during surgery, emergency surgery, after a very, very bad car wreck. So I was a college student at the time and agnostic, no interest in spirituality at all. I was completely materialistic and just interested in succeeding in school, making connections. I was not interested in spirituality. I think I had been to one yoga class, but that was about it. Just end of story. Well, when I had this car wreck, it was very bad. And what happened is I broke my back in 3 places. And when I broke my back, I knew that this was major, that this was going to change my life. And so what I did was I just offered up one little prayer, even though I didn't believe. And I was like, oh, help me here. This is life changing. And so when I was taken into emergency surgery, I waited 17 hours for a surgeon to work on me. And this is a very long time to wait with major injuries and internal injuries. But when I was finally wheeled in to surgery, my doctor was a young woman who was like the head of her field at that time, and she was doing great things for athletes and really helping them walk again. I had lost feeling in one of my legs, and so I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to walk or run again. And she took me into surgery. The next thing I knew, it was probably the middle of the surgery at some point, because my back had a big incision down it. My hip was opened up. There was so much blood, but my spirit body was above my body, looking down at my body. And I just felt excited. I knew that this wasn't a dream, because there was so much more intelligence outside of the body. I just felt this awareness of the room, and I also saw angels behind the surgeons, and that really was amazing. They were these light beings with hair about my length, but thicker and curly, and they were made of light, and they were so intelligent, and they spoke through telepathy, through their eyes, and they sent this healing energy through the back of the surgeons and into my body. And I remember thinking, does everyone have angels working through them? Do you have angels working through them? Will I have angels working through me someday? I was really excited about this idea that angels are a part of us. And I wondered if the surgeons might know this. But after that moment, I just kind of took it all in. This amazing moment of meeting God. And when I met that light, I felt people's prayers trying to pull me back into my body, and I was like, no, I'm going to God. Don't hold me back. And as I was flowing in that moment towards God, all of the pain of this world went away. So all of the hurt, the anguish, the abuse, all of the things that were hard to carry were no longer with me. And in that presence of God, I just felt like, oh, I'm finally loved. I'm finally safe. All is well. I can be safe now. And the minute I thought I don't ever want to come back to this earth, it's too hard, I was stopped. And I was told to look down, and I saw this beautiful river, and I was like, is this the river of life? What is this? And I saw souls that were either full of light or they were covered in darkness. And the darkness wasn't bad. It was just fear. It was just if people are blocked to God for a lot of reasons, and maybe before my near-death experience, I was blocked to God. I was just thinking about myself and my life, and not really open to all the awakening and beauty and magic that can come from Creator and come from Source. And that I just saw, oh, I'm meant to help awaken people. And God was like, yeah, but as a teacher, you're going to do this in schools. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. and that's when my ego came back. I was like, no, God, they don't make enough money. Teachers, that's not for me. Forget that. And God kind of laughed and threw me back in my body. And I woke up and I remembered all of this. This was not like a dream. It was completely life-changing. And I talked about it from the very first moment out of surgery. And it never left me. It changed everything. When I saw the angels, they were so intelligent and so loving. And they were standing behind the doctors, sending light through the back of the doctors, through their hands and into my body. And I knew this light was healing and also intelligence. So they were helping the doctors understand what to do. And they were also helping me heal because I had lost feeling in my left leg and there was bits of bone pressing on nerves and on my spine. And so it was a dicey surgery, and I felt like they were adding their intelligence and their light and their healing to that moment. Then they looked at me at some point, and as they were looking at me, I knew that they were sending this light into my soul as well, helping my soul upgrade and understand what it was like to be dead. They were just helping me. And then I noticed the monitor flatlined, and it was completely that sound that you hear on television where someone is dead. And I thought, ooh, I don't necessarily want to watch this. And I transitioned out into the corridor, saw my stepdad getting a candy bar, and this moment later became a verifiable moment because he didn't eat candy. And so it was kind of funny to see him eating candy in that moment. And then I transitioned into this beautiful realm where I felt oneness and love with everyone I had ever met. And then suddenly I was in the stars, kind of like a tunnel, but I was just there in the stars. And it was so beautiful. No fear, just absolute peace. I began to hear certain messages like love is all that matters. It's all you take with you when you go. Be like a little child and remind them to go to nature. And then I saw a life review, which was not my entire life flashing before my eyes, but just moments that I could do better, and then moments where I was doing something well. But the moment where I saw I could do better is I worked as a waitress with a couple, and they were older than me, and they were Catholic, and they wanted to be my friend. They prayed for me. They thought I was depressed. Well, in my childish mind, at 21, I just thought they don't go to my university. They're not cool. I'm not going to talk to them. And I thought, oh, how ridiculous. My soul felt bad that's the way I thought. And I was like, they're actually lovely people praying for me, and I think I'm too good for them. And I thought, I will never be like this again. I will get to know kind people. I will open my heart to people with open hearts, and I will not judge them based on their education or their looks or their status or any of that their hearts matter. And I just kind of grew up in that moment. And I also saw, though, that some things from childhood were good. These moments when I played in nature, when I had faith, when I connected with God and talked to God directly, that this was a beautiful part of my childhood. And I had these moments in childhood where I doubted, God. And I went into the bushes, and I saw this in my life review where I asked God, I said, if you're real, I really want to see some rabbits, and I want these rabbits to come here and be right here with me now. And so I sat as a little 5-year-old girl in this bush and kind of like I didn't even know it was a lotus position, but I was in the lotus position, and a mother and her baby rabbits all were in front of me. And I just remember thinking, there is a God. There's a God. Here are the rabbits. And so that was a moment that God was saying, I was interacting with you. I was there through nature. I was there through the beauty of the world. And you asked and you received. And so part of life is asking for good things and being open to these simple moments. So after that moment, I transitioned into heaven. The experience, I had 9 days in the hospital still. So I had 3 days in ICU and 7 days in the hospital. And I remembered everything. And I tried to write down everything I could about the angels, but I've never forgotten a moment of it because it was so profound. And as I went to my mom's house to heal for about 9 months, really, because I was in a body cast. But the first month was really hard. I couldn't handle the painkillers. I couldn't handle them. I would vomit them. So I really didn't take anything for the pain when I went home, just Tylenol. And I was in so much pain, but I remembered, okay, maybe you can meditate. Maybe you can connect with those angels. Maybe you can experience some healing since you know this now. And I would leave my body and I would fly around in those realms and I would feel the angels continuing to work on my back and I just participate with them. And though it was hard, it was actually beautiful too, because I understood it takes time, but it also is a beautiful process. And so I allowed them to work on me and I escaped some of the early pain. Before the accident, I was so concerned about myself. I really didn't think about other people that much. And as soon as I came out of surgery, it was like I didn't know where I began or where I ended. I just felt like I was a part of people. And most of the time, as long as people are kind, you just love people. Like there's, like we all have our foibles and our secrets and, but I could read people's emotions better. So like when my doctor, I asked her about how long was I dead, and I wanted to talk about the angels working through her and other things, but she shot me this look at some point like, shut up, like quit talking about this or I'm going to medicate you. And I kind of got the message that she was sending from her mind, and I was like, oh, so she just wants to talk about how good my back is doing, and this makes her look good as a surgeon, and she doesn't want to talk about any near misses and, any almost deaths. And I think surgeons feel bad when they almost lose someone. That's not what they want to talk about sometimes. So I understood that. And I also understood in some ways how people were afraid of near-death experiences if they didn't align with their religion. My mother was kind of open and then not open at different times, because it didn't align exactly with what her minister believed. And so she was closed to me, but my grandmother was open. She wanted to know about the angels. She wanted to know about what I saw. And so, there were friends who were spiritual who I didn't even know they were spiritual. And immediately, we could be open and honest with one another. And, my friendships changed. They were much more open, much more beautiful, much more supportive. And then some people, it's like we could only connect in certain ways because they were agnostic like I was. And they thought my experience was just a dream. And, well, was it real for you? We could talk about school and friendship and, life, but we couldn't talk about spirituality. So it wasn't as freeing. In general, I saw the best in people. I saw their highest potential. And that's very good when you're a teacher in the classroom because, you see the best for your students and you believe in them. But sometimes you still have to heal yourself and give that love to yourself and that support to yourself, because even though you know a lot, you're still in a physical world and you still have learning to do and habits to keep up with, as far as like meditation. If I meditate every day, then I'm much more peaceful than if I don't. But when I told my story publicly, a lot of mothers who have lost children started emailing me and saying, are you a medium? Can you connect to my son or daughter? And I didn't know if I could or not. So I was like, well, I can try, like, we'll give it a shot. You don't have to pay me or anything. And so the first really 6 months, I was just emailing people back and forth and giving readings, and I saw how they healed because of these connections. And I saw that, wow, I really saw this woman's son or this woman's daughter. And it changed her life, in certain ways because of that connection. It suddenly opened up more for her. The first woman I gave a reading to got back together with her husband. She had been in great grief and had separated, and then after the reading, they decided to grieve together and work through it, which I think is important, for people to understand the loss together. And these moments, I was like, okay, I guess I can do this. And it was scary to step into it, but I don't find it tiring. I find it beautiful. I might be a little different from some mediums because I see how they are in heaven. It's like that door to the other side is open to me. So I'd much rather talk about like what they're doing over there and how they're supporting people now and what they're experiencing. And often people go, yeah, well, my dad was always a reader. So, it makes sense that he's deep in the Akashic records and the history of the world. And there's cute moments, I think, that occur, but there's also like great joy in connecting to that other side. Here is like I keep myself in a bubble of light and I just communicate. And it's still fun though to hear what they have to say, how that actually is true. So it's, even though my spirit body understands, we're all free, there's no need to fear, my physical body still has trauma. And so I think, there's EMDR, all kinds of energy healing that certainly can help people live freer, happier lives. Yeah, so a lot of times we all have blocks to love. And this could be, say if you believe in past lives sometimes, or even in this lifetime, maybe you go, oh, that hurt so much, I'll never love again. And that's almost like saying that's the truth. Then you kind of curse yourself in a way to never love again. And so I love to remove that. I mean, I do say that anyone can pray to God on their own and do it, but sometimes working with another person, a person who sees the best for you and your highest good, is really healing. And I think that's what I do more than anything, is I want people to be happy. And so I see them with their true love, with that love, and see it working out. And then that possibility allows for more love to come in. I think most of us don't feel worthy, or feel like, this culture tells us various things that, oh, it's hard to have lasting love, or it's hard to, find the right person, when that's not really the case. You don't need to find 10, you just need to find one, that's really good. And that's very possible. I mean, the way I see it is, the more you feel worthy of love, abundance, and joy, and security and support from other people, the more that is going to start coming into your life.
You do the healings over a Zoom meeting, or how would it look like for someone who is interested?
Yeah, so generally it's Zoom, occasionally in other countries, maybe WhatsApp, but mainly a Zoom meeting is easiest. Yes, I still teach as well. So I teach English at a community college.
Interesting. And where can people find you?
Tricia, TRICIA, Barker, BARKER, NDE.com. So that's near death experience, NDE.com. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.